Hello, hello, hello. I think we're running now. Go ahead and start typing in your questions. I'm just going to make sure everything is up and running. Couple little technical snafus here. Let's see. This is Ask Mike Anything, the hour during the week when you can ask me anything you want. Any question you have, any thought going through your head, you ever wanted a pastor's take on something, that's what it's here for. So go ahead, type in those questions in the comments, and we'll get going. Hey, Lynn, good to see you on there. Hope you're doing well. I got my question decks here too. Why is my lighting different? So lighting is different because I put up a homemade diffuser, so it wasn't quite so, you know. Is it bad? Is the lighting bad, Grandpa Palupa? And what is in my cup? What is in my cup is old fashioned tonight. So, yeah, it is different. I've been messing around with a few things. If I use the overhead light, it ends up being all halo-y and weird. And I figure this kind of keeps things in this way a little bit. And if I don't have a diffuser up on that light, then it is just way too bright. So, yeah. All right. I hope some of you, all of you, most of you have been able to check out some of the Faith at the Movie stuff. We had a lot of fun with The Sound of Music, and then Grease this last week. Coming up on The Princess Bride for this coming week. Very excited about that. And also very unsure as to exactly what route I'm going to take with that sermon this week. It's rough because Bree is already writing her sermon, and I don't even have a theme or a scripture picked out yet. So hopefully sometime, maybe overnight, if I get some decent sleep tonight, I'll be able to figure that out. How about those Packers? I'm fairly excited. Division NFC conference championship next week against the Bucks. It's gonna be fun. All right. So Lynn asks, what do you think is going to happen with all this craziness in this world? Yeah, that's a good question, Lynn. And I can't see the future. I can't tell the future. What I do know is that whether you're talking about extremists on the left or on the right, you're dealing with a vocal minority of the people. Most of the people I know on both sides of the issues, and I'm talking about real issues, not these big made up kinds of things. But people, real people, not out on the extremes, are decent people just trying to do life the best they can. So I think we're gonna see some stuff this week, stuff that's not going to make us very proud of some of our fellow citizens. But at the end of the day, I think it's much bigger in their head than it's going to be in real life. I have faith in people and in people doing the right thing. And violent upheaval is not the right thing. It's just not. Do I think the doors will open to the church this year, to the church building? I'm fairly certain they will. It really is going to depend just on where things are at. We want to be safe. We want to be cautious. There's different things in the news that you have to take into account and see how things play out. You see news about new strains and questions as to whether the vaccine works against the new strains, and we don't know. So we're careful, because it really is about caring for each other. The buildings aren't the important thing. So I hope, there's a part of this that is very wearying for me as a pastor as well, because I can't do everything that I used to do, and the patterns of life, the patterns of work, of doing things, were far more comfortable than they are now. Right now is not very comfortable. It's not a comfortable time for anybody. But for me, for other pastors, being pastors in a pandemic was not something we learned in seminary. It was not something any of us knew going in, and have had to learn as we go. And it's very difficult. I know writing sermons is different. Putting services together is different. Thinking it's all different, and it's all a whole lot more. It feels a whole lot more labor intensive than things were a year ago. So I hope we come back to some form of in person. I miss seeing people a whole lot. Even like just the food trucks of the summer, I miss that a ton. Just seeing people even distance in the parking lot, I miss that a lot. And there's a lot of missing that. Let me know. My mic just switched over to my headphones, so let me know if that changes things. I did not add closed captioning intentionally. It may have been because I was on my iPad, my computer mic instead of my headphone mic. I do not know. Let's see. Do you think we'll ever have another person like Martin Luther King Jr. to be a voice for equality and justice? I think we have some now. I do. Okay, so hang on a second. My mic sounds tinny. Is that because of the change? Because I just made that change. I can theoretically change it back. Let's see. Technology. Let's see. Switch this back. Let's see if that's any better. So, do you think I'll ever have another person like Martin Luther King Jr.? Yes, I think we have several who are doing good work. Oh, that is better. All right. Sorry, it just kicked into my one. All right. So, yeah, I think we do. Ibram Kendi is a good one. He wrote the book How to Be an Anti-Racist. There are lots of people out there. I think probably the difference is there is so much information right now, so many people out there speaking, carrying that banner, that it's and people get their news and their information from so many different places. It isn't as focused as it used to be. We used to have. Well, I know some of y'all growing up had 3 channels on your TV, and all of them were news, and they may have delivered the news in slightly different ways or formats, but it was the same stories basically. Now 24-hour news cycles and a dozen different news networks, and all of them with their own agendas and sponsors and things they got to get out. It's really hard. So to single anybody out. But there's also a reality that I don't think. I mean, there's something nice to following like one solid voice, one solid banner, but there's also something very hopeful to me that there are so many people from so many different places speaking for justice. Dr. King was amazing and an inspiration. And yeah, I think we see a lot of the fruit of his work continuing today in a lot of different people. So, will Michaela or Braley be making an appearance tonight? I don't know. I mean, Michaela is sitting in the doorway as per usual, listening because she likes to hear me tell stories, apparently, that she thinks are just for other people. But yeah. So any other questions? You can go ahead and type those in. I'm gonna hit one of the decks here. This one is, what do you value most in friends? I value the primarily spending time together, and within that spending time together, humor is important to me. I really like to laugh. So, did I get a spitball stuck in my ear? I don't know. Maybe. I really don't remember. Like I remember, like I've heard comedy routines about something like that, but I don't know that it was necessarily me getting that done. So, so here's just a little what we managed to do this week. So, our kids, for better for worse, have primarily been stuck in the house since March, with a few exceptions here and there, and it was getting to the point this last week that like we had to do something. We had to figure something out. You know, so we decided to see if we could go do indoor mini golf. There's an indoor mini golf place near here, and it's like blacklight mini golf, putt golf. So we call up, we find out you have to make a reservation. They don't allow too many people in at a time. And so we made a reservation. We get there. Turns out there's like one other small group of people there, and that's it. And not only do they have the mini golf, but they have laser tag and an arcade and other things. And so we were able to spend a couple hours. We mini golfed, but then we did family laser tag. That was a lot of fun. So I highly recommend that if you can find a way to safely do that. Get your families out and go do laser tag or mini golf or something. It was good to be out of the house as a family and having fun with walls that didn't look the same as the ones we've been staring at for a year. All right, another card. Oh, we may have done this one already. Spend the night in a dumpster or a porta potty. It would depend on the level of fullness for either of those, I guess. If we're talking empty dumpster versus empty porta potty, I'm probably going to go empty dumpster, just because I'll probably be able to stretch out more. If we're talking full, I may still go dumpster. Yeah. All right. Any other questions out there? If not, that's cool. We can cut it short for the week. That's fine too. Anything? All right, I'm gonna give a little more time for people to write stuff in there, but I'll jump to the journal. If you remember, the last one was like several months of me being bored and having headaches and apparently not going to church. So here's, I will just go with November 2nd, 1990. Today, I start writing in my journal again. For 7 years, I'm going to write in it again. At school, we had a math test. It was sort of easy. In social studies, we are starting a new unit. In the past, in social studies, we talked about our country's history and the wars we won and how we won our independence. I'll do one more. And then November 3rd, 1990. At noon, I went to Sheridan Lanes. That was a bowling alley in my hometown. And bowled 2 strikes, which apparently I thought was good at that point. Then I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was a video game back then. And I said I conquered it. I did not conquer it. Had 3 cherry Cokes. That was nice. And tonight I jammed my knee and it really hurt. My friend Izzy pushed me, I said, and I jammed my knee. And apparently that's when I decided I started collecting football cards, which really, as my family knows, was my dad collecting football cards. The extent of that collection, I still don't know. It's huge. What was my biggest fear as a child? Probably still one of the same as now. Heights. I can fly in a plane and I can do that kind of thing. But heights still kind of creep me out. I'll watch videos sometimes of people who are doing like the parkour jumps up on top of buildings and all these different, and it freaks me out. Like I literally shake and jump. It just, yeah. So yeah. Let's see. What can we do to help besides praying? Um, so Donna, I'm not exactly sure in which vein exactly you're asking this question, so I'm just going to assume a very uh, broad backdrop for this question. In addition to praying, um, there are numerous things you can do in seeking to make the world a better place. Volunteering, giving financially to different organizations that are doing good work, uh, having conversations with people, engaging with people is profoundly important. Um, Read lots of books, especially by authors you wouldn't typically read. So if I mentioned earlier, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. Um, Excellent book. Cannot recommend it enough. Um, but do the work. Read the books. Understand. Try and understand the difficulties, the trials and tribulations that we are going through as a country and as a world from a perspective other than the ones we were taught. Because the way we're taught things, especially when we're talking about history, we are taught things from the perspective of the victor, from the perspective of those who are those who have won, and the winner will never, ever, ever frame themselves as the villain. In our own stories, we never frame ourselves as the villain. We always look at ourselves as the hero, and so it's important to understand, especially now because we have opportunity to access some of those stories and some of that reality and that different perspective. So educate yourself on what's going on in the world from multiple perspectives, and engage in conversation. That it So I'm gonna tell a story. When a couple of years ago, and probably 7, 8 years ago now, in seminary, I was taking a theology class. Hey, Scott, good to see you on here. I was taking this theology class, and it was being taught by a Korean American woman. So I want you to understand, this was the first teacher I ever had that was non-white, and very much a feminist, right? And she decided to teach this course on Christology, studying Christ, through the lens of racism and sexism. And the first month or two of that class about killed me, because I was one of 2 or 3 white males in that entire class. And they were talking about things I didn't understand, didn't comprehend. And this was right before the Baltimore riots, right in the midst of that. And I was heading back to Ann Arbor from Chicago, and I was taking a train, and I'm having to wait for my train, and I'm sitting at a pub restaurant inside the train station there, and the riots are happening on TV. They got free Wi-Fi, so I'm working on stuff, and a white guy sitting next to me starts talking to me and the bartender about looking at all the black people on there and how tribal they are. and just all of these, not necessarily overtly racist comments, but things that I definitely picked up on that my teacher, my professor in seminary had been talking about. And I realized I have an opportunity here, one white male to another, to have a conversation and maybe make him think of things from a different perspective. And we engaged in conversation in about 10 or 15 minutes worth before he got fed up and left. But there's this there's this real thing where you, Donna, have a sphere of influence where people will listen to you. People will listen to what you have to say. If I had been a black man trying to explain to a white man who is a stranger why he was wrong, that conversation would have ended differently. It would have ended differently. So, and probably would have started differently too. So it's important for everybody to educate themselves on the topics, on the issues, on the injustices that are happening, so that you can have conversations with people who are just like you, who maybe haven't taken that time yet. So I hope that helps. Yes, I did meet Mike Holmgren, also Brett Favre. Caught a Brett Favre pass once when I was a kid. That was kind of cool. Hi. Let's see. Maddie, happy birthday. I cannot believe you are going to be 17. That is ridiculous. That makes me feel ridiculously old. All right. How do you calm your mind in times like these? So, had a conversation on Fun with Faith last week with my friend Sylvia, who's in mental health. And we talked about how it's important to unplug. If you know you're getting anxious, if you know your mind is getting revved up because of the news that you're watching or the social media feed that you're scrolling through, know yourself enough to shut that off and direct your mind to other things, the things you can control. Because what we're dealing with right now, and I had her on in response to January 6th, when you're seeing all this stuff that you don't have control over. I'm sitting here in Ypsilanti. There's not much I can do about what's going on in Washington, D.C. I can throw out my thoughts on Facebook, but it's not going to change what has happened or is happening. So, but it still riles me up. It still brings out anxiety. And how do I do that? Well, I focus on good things, on things I can make a difference in. We also talked about if you're in the midst of like a panic attack, your mind is just overloaded, to stop right where you are and think of name 5 things you can see, and 4 things you can hear, and 3 things you can touch, and 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste, just in your immediate surroundings. And it's changing those mental gears. Prayer is one of those things, because when we pray, we are essentially, what we're supposed to be doing is stopping and taking ourselves out of that particular moment, in the physicality of the world around us, and we are stepping into the area of the divine. So it's supposed to be that switching point. And those kinds of things, that that intentional switch, that change in direction, that flipping into a different gear is going to be most helpful in those kinds of situations. And the other thing you can do is have a conversation with a good friend about something completely other than what it is that's driving your mind into that non-calm state. Coker wants to know what's in the cup tonight. Brian, that is a Larceny Old Fashioned, my friend. So, let's see. Maddie wants to know why the sky is blue. You know what? I'll send your mom a YouTube video on that, okay? And Mother, if I'm old, what does that make you? Yes. So any other questions? You can go ahead and type those in. Had some good ones in there. Pulling out another one. Okay. So another interview question here says, a serious question. Do you count your steps? Technically, I don't. My watch does. But yes, we have, we got enrolled through our health insurance a long time ago for this program that if you take enough steps, it gives you so many points towards your health care, and then like you actually earn cash and stuff. So that's kind of cool. Why is the house made of brick? I don't know, Maddie, because that's what the builders made it with. Oh, here we go. Biggest fear for 2021 and your biggest hope. So my biggest fear. My biggest fear is that I'm wrong in my estimation of what the unrest is going to be this week and this year. It's one of those things where and I named this in a sermon a few weeks back, where sometimes sometimes big problems are only going to get solved through upheaval of this nature. I don't like it. I don't like naming it. But sometimes that. And that really bothers me. My biggest hope, my biggest hope is always going to be in Christ, in following Jesus and following that path of peace, that path of nonviolence, that path of loving my neighbor and my enemy in the best ways that I can. That is my biggest hope, and it's our biggest hope. Scott wants to know, did Mary have free will? Could she have said no to being the mother of Jesus? Absolutely she could have, Scott, and absolutely she did have free will. My immediate inclination is like, there may have been like 6 or 7 other people asked before her who said no, who were like, no, I ain't signing on for that. Right. But because she said yes, she's the one whose name is written in the book. Right. But free will is an important thing. I don't think God would have forced that. Yeah. So, but good question. Is Coke and Pepsi the same? No. They may be approximately the same color. but they are not the same. So, favorite soda. I tend to go, if I'm going to drink soda, it's going to be Diet Pepsi typically. I'm also a big Vernors fan, especially in the age of the pandemic right now. Usually if I have to go out to a store, so I may have a small case of hypochondria, because it feels like every time I go out to a store or have to go out in public somewhere, I get home and my throat kind of gets sore. And so it's got to be Vernors and bourbon or something to and then I'm feeling better. Then the sore throat goes away until the next time I go to the store. So it's my favorite Beatles song and Elton John song. Beatles is tough. So Elton John is going to be. That's tough too. If like I'd probably go. Dang it! I lost it now. Shoot, I'd probably go. Elton John, I'd probably go like Rocket Man. And Beatles. Yeah, there are a lot of Beatles songs. But one of the peppier ones that I can't think of right now. Do we have free will? Aren't we determined to choose a path based on our upbringing? Isn't free will an illusion? I think we have choice. I think those choices get limited by where we're born, how we're brought up. Like, I cannot by force of my will make myself an astronaut. I can't do it. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I'm 41 years old. When I was a kid, I wanted to play professional football. And I'm thinking to myself, if I dedicated myself right now to I'm gonna eat right, and I'm gonna work out like a mad dog for 2 years and just get completely ripped, do you think that by the time I'm 43, I could walk on and maybe get a spot on a practice squad on an NFL team? Right? Can I will myself into that? No. Can I will myself into being an astronaut or a Stephen Hawking or whatever? No. That's there are things that are not within my capability to do. But do I have the ability to choose? Yes. Sometimes that may be a very binary choice, which doesn't feel like a choice at all. But we do have a choice. I don't think free will is an illusion. I think the extent that our will can take us sometimes may be. But I always think we have choice. We always have choice. And to me, that is the essence of free will. Because I could have chosen to skip that question, but I didn't. Because I like you, Scott. Do you think the day may come in your lifetime where a church building becomes obsolete? This is not going to be popular. People are probably going to hate me for saying this, but I think a church building is obsolete. I know there was a time when that was very important to have bigger gathering spaces for bigger congregations, so that people could meet together in relative warmth and safety from the elements. But I think that also became very much the focus of what the church, the people are going to do is going to be about the building. And then it becomes about paying for the building and paying for the additions to the building and paying for the staff to staff the building and paying for, it becomes about itself. It turns in on itself as opposed to being outward focused. And we have this attachment to our buildings, and I'm the same, right? I walk into a church building, a sanctuary, and I feel like, yeah, this is a holy place for me, but it's a holy place for me. For the people I'm trying to reach out to, for the people I want to engage with out in the world, it's a building. It's a building that costs a lot of money, and it's kind of redundant when you have spaces now in the public forum that you could meet for things and do those kinds of things. Now, if a church is using its building to be that community center, to be that hub, that place where the community can come together, and it's not about my program as a pastor or the church's program and you need to come to us and blah, blah. No. But if it is, hey, we have a food pantry, and hey, we've worked it out so we can do low cost, no cost childcare to help working families. And if it becomes that kind of center, then absolutely the building is not obsolete. The building is important. But if your church building sits in this, and I'm talking pre-pandemic, all right, because most church buildings should be sitting empty right now. But if your church building was empty most of the week, was only ever full and active when you had your programs going on, then it's kind of obsolete. Then it's not accomplishing what it should be doing. We're not being good stewards of that. Yeah. Do you find yourself ever in life? Do you find yourself in life becoming a Disney character? I don't know what that question is, Maddie. Would I ever want to become a Disney character, or do I feel like sometimes I'm a Disney character? Or if I was a Disney character, who would I be? I could answer those questions. It would probably be Goofy. Goofy's my dude. Right here. Yes. Yuck. Love me some Goofy. Yeah. When it's safe to do so, would you ever travel to Virginia? Sure. I've actually been to Virginia, very, very briefly. But yeah, I love traveling places. Are you like offering to put us up if we travel out that way? And I don't know that your mom would appreciate that, but yeah, we've looked at Airbnbs out that way actually. So yeah. Scotty Hanowski. What is something you like to eat as a treat that your family dislikes? Oh, lots of things. My family, in particular, Bree and the girls, are very bland in what they like to eat. So I like a pickle on occasion. They hate pickles. I like spicy things. They don't like spicy things. Yeah, it's pretty easy to pick out something I'll eat that they won't. Do I ever see myself becoming a Disney character? If so, who? If I were to become a Disney character, like work at Disney and get to choose, it'd be Goofy. If like I'm morphing into some weird reality where we all get to be Disney characters, it would probably still be Goofy. Mostly because he bounces back from anything. And no, not Rice Krispie treats, because now I have to share Rice Krispie treats with Braylee because you got her hooked on them. But thanks for playing, Ma. Uh, oh, do I like sushi? Yes, I love sushi. Um, so what's my favorite? Anything spicy. I like the spicy salmon, the spicy tuna. But I also like there's a sushi place here in town that does. It's been so long I can't remember. But it's got like maple and brown sugar in it. It's like a dessert sushi roll. It's just amazing. That I absolutely love. Roxy, hey Roxy, favorite subject in school, and what subject do you think is the most? I'm assuming most important subject kids should take. My favorite subject in school, it was anything to do like on the vocational education part of the building. I love designing things. I love building things. Um, I built steps for our house. I built a storage barn for my grandpa, woodworking, that kind of stuff. I loved that. And I love designing things and then building them. And I think those kinds of classes are some of the most important that all kids should take. And that's not to take away from math or history or science. Those things are important. So is speaking a foreign language, but being able to know how to work with tools, knowing how to take something from design to creation is very important. It's also very fulfilling. So I think that's important. There should also be, I mean, quite frankly, there should be money management classes that kids take in high school, how to balance the checkbook, why you shouldn't get a credit card, or why you should, how you should use it responsibly. Those kinds of things would be very, very helpful for kids. And Maddie, I hope you're listening to that stuff. Though I'm sure your mom is smart with all that and has taught you all that anyway. But yeah, especially those vocational education kind of classes. Like I'm hoping when Michaela gets into high school, that she'll be able to take some of those kinds of classes. I know they're not as prevalent as they used to be, but I had a class called Tech Problems when I was in high school. That I had it in a 2-hour block, and the whole thing was you came up with a problem and then you created the technology to solve it. It was amazing. The teacher was an older guy named Mr. Dobrzinski, and what you did is you came to him, hey, this is an idea, this is a project I'd like to talk about or do. You pitched it to him. He said, okay, let's do it. And he would help you figure out how to get it done, either through components that had been donated, or he had connections in the community. So my big thing, and arts are absolutely, arts in schools are absolutely important too. So my project, I thought fluid dynamics, I thought was very important. Figuring out how to move fluids from one place to another and how they got there and all of these different things. And right behind the school was a place that made tanks, pressure vessels. And so he's like, well, I'll go talk to them. And so I designed like 6 different tanks. And they made 2 of each and donated them to my project. And me and a friend of mine who knew the computer programming aspect of things, we built this huge project that would take water and heat water and mix water and cool water and all of these things. And I went back to that class like 2 years after I graduated, and that entire thing that I had created, that I had designed, was a module in the entry level class that people would take apart and put together, and it was amazing. It was amazing. So, but yes, arts in school, or arts, music, vocational education, are all super important because they tap into a different part of your mind that gets you to think more creatively. So, how close do you think The Walking Dead is to what life would be like following a horrible pandemic-like event? Not necessarily zombies. Well, it The Walking Dead makes a lot of sense to me now. Like, I always thought, how could there be so few people left? And then I see how people respond to this pandemic, and I'm like, that's how there can be that few people left. Yeah. So I think it's fairly accurate. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. Maddie, how do you think Michaela will be when she is 17? Like attitude, for example, if that makes sense. So Michaela is 11 going on 30 right now. She doesn't believe me that she's going to hate me at some point in the near future. She's going to go from I love my dad, he understands me, he's a cool guy, we can talk about anything, to I'm not going to acknowledge his existence, and when I do, it's going to be with disdain. Because we're getting to that point where I just have to say no to certain things. But honestly, I think by the time she's 17, I think we'll be through that. I think we'll be friends again. She is smarter than she gives herself credit for. And sometimes too smart for her own good. But I think she can be okay when she's 17. I think she'll be okay. We'll be good friends. I hope. What do you read? Non-theology books. All right. So non-theology, I like. When we get into non-theology, non-fictiony, non-theology, fictiony kind of books, I like sci-fi, I like fantasy, I like adventure, I like apocalypse kind of books, anything really that's going to come in a nice long series. Like, there's going to be lots of books with lots of character development. I like rich storylines that follow from book to book to book. So my all-time favorite is the Harry Dresden series called the Dresden Files. I think they're at 18 books right now. And it's about a wizard living in Chicago. And it goes from this, he can find lost things, to like stopping an apocalypse kind of deal. So that's a really good series. Then I like, right now I'm going through a series called the Gideon Crew series, about a character named Gideon Crew, who is a master of disguise and a former art thief who's helping to save the world kind of deal. And then there's a series called Arisen that is set 2 years into a zombie apocalypse, and all about finding the cure or finding the vaccine, creating the vaccine, that kind of thing. So those kinds of things that really kind of escape kind of sci-fi fantasy out of there. So is the church hurt more by crossing the church-state line or the state? That is a great question, Scott. Wow. Honestly, I think it's probably a horse apiece, really. But the church was never supposed to cross that line. the church is not supposed to be a part of empire, and for far too long it has. Part of the reason I believe we see um, the evangelical right latching on to Trumpism the way they have is because that's power for them. That's that latching on and hanging on to empire like the church has done for a very long time. I prefer a church that is not connected to empire. I prefer a church that is that the empire views as almost as the enemy, because the church is supposed to challenge the power. Just in my view, we're supposed to challenge the power of empire. So, all right. What do you like or dislike about carnivals and circuses? So I like the performances. I don't like where there is like abusive animals. I don't like that at all. Or exploited people. But if we're talking about circus performers who that is their stock, their trade, what they love to do, I love to see that. One of my favorite acts on AGT was Duo Transcend, who was the husband and wife team that hung from a bar and did cool acrobatics kind of stuff. They did that because they were passionate about it. They were good at it. It's how they wanted to make a living. And I love that. But I do dislike the abuses. I dislike the stereotypes. I dislike the taking advantage of people. Yeah. I also, I think I mentioned this to Bree in passing a couple of weeks ago about how weird it must be or how difficult it must be for people who make their living in the carnival right now. Those traveling carnivals that come to town every once in a while. It's got to be difficult. What is the church's role in the environmental crisis? Well, the church's role is like everybody else's role. We are responsible for the world we live in, whether we take that seriously or not. We need to speak about it. It needs to be part of our call to building the kingdom of God. Is taking care of what we've been given, being good stewards of it. But like with anybody, all of humanity is responsible for what we do. And the long and short of it is what we do when we pollute drinking water and when we pollute the air we breathe, it affects more than us. It affects everybody around us. It affects the whole world. And so it's absolutely a part of the church's message. It should be anyway. Recycle and stuff. Now both of them are in here. Shouldn't you guys be in bed or something? No. All right. Do I think the church takes an active role in the environmental crisis? No, I don't. I think there are some churches that do, but I think by and large, that's one of those things the church tends to kind of push to the wayside. All right. My would you rather for tonight, or my what the heck? If your office had show and tell for adults, what thing would you be proud to display? Yeah. let's see. So I had some books I kept in my office, and I picked up only for the reason because they were fun to have out. Um, that had like conflicting titles. But I have things like my Wesley stress ball. Yeah, I'll have to do a. I'll have to do a Fun with Faith tour of my office here one of these days and do the show and tell proper. Because I have lots of things. I have a Batman mask and antlers. I have my Incredible Hulk bobblehead, my Minions, all sorts of stuff that just is near and dear to my heart. Yeah. Fun with Faith here tomorrow. We are still going to be looking at Live in Grace, Walk in Love by Bob Goff. And you'll just have to tune in to see what's what with that. Have you ever read The Last Policeman? It's a whodunit with a looming apocalypse. I have not, but I will put that on my list right now. I have been going through on and binging a show called Prodigal Son. I don't know if any of you have seen that. It's about a FBI profiler who gets fired from the FBI, ends up working for the police, but whose dad was a notorious serial killer who is, arrested behind bars and all that. Very, very interesting, very psychological and cerebral. I like that a lot. It's been a fun watch. So yeah, but The Last Policeman, I'll check that out. Scott, appreciate the heads up on that. And I would highly recommend, Scott, I think you would get a kick out of the Gideon Crew series. It's let me tell you who it's by. It's by Preston and Child. It's a great series. All sorts of cool science and tech and all sorts. Yeah. Have I read Recursion by Blake Crouch? I haven't, Roxy, but I will put that on my list. Blake Crouch. All right. Yeah. Another one Preston and Child do that's really good is the Pendergast novels are really good. So check those out too. All right, and Scott Brody, considering the diversity in Protestant religions on matters of faith, importance of cultural matters, me versus Joel Osteen, for example. How are both of you considered Christians? I certainly side with you. Well, thanks, Scott. This is part of the problem. Is Christian has become a label. That anybody that wants to get a photo op with a Bible or slap a cross up in their meeting space can say, I'm a Christian. We talk about Christ, so there we go. The difference, the biggest difference, I think, between me and a Joel Osteen is I'm a pastor, whether I have a jet or not. I'm a pastor, whether my congregation has 10 people or 10,000 people. For me, it is never about the money. It's never about having the biggest or the best or the fanciest. It is about following Christ. And it does, Scott, I hear you. It drives me nuts when I see people who claim to follow Christ, who say they are Christian, but very obviously have not read the Gospels, or at least not paid attention while reading the Gospels to see what Christ was doing, what Christ was about. And so that really that gets to me. But it is we live in a world of labels. We label LGBTQ, we label Christian, and within Christian we have Protestant and Catholic, and we have 150 different flavors of Baptist, and we have Methodists from every end of the spectrum, and we have all sorts of labels instead of the much simpler, we're going to follow Christ. And part of that comes from differences of interpretation. But there are some things that really don't come down to interpretation. People who look at capitalism and say, "Oh yeah, Jesus was all about capitalism." I'm sorry, it's not an interpretation. That's not how Jesus was. That's not who Jesus was. And that's not to say that Jesus was all about socialism or communism either. Jesus was about people. People were what was important. And we need to get that through our thick skulls. All right, we are at an hour and 7 minutes. It has been fantastic taking your questions tonight. Great questions too. Great recommendations. Scott, I want you to know, apparently, so my mom is in an isolated cabin taking some time to herself, but she's watching this, and she just messaged me that, hey, we can get the Last Policeman on Audible, because we share an Audible account. And I'm like, all right, we'll probably get that and start that soon. So yeah. But thank you for joining me. We will be back next week, Monday, with another episode of Ask Mike Anything at 7:00. And it has been great talking to you all. You can see Pastor Bree and I Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. live for Fun with Faith. Different type of conversation, but still lots of fun, and great to have you join us for that as well. Until next time, folks. Take care, God bless, and stay safe.